to ravepubs.com/InfoComm for all your InfoComm news. Hey everyone, Steph Beckett here at InfoComm 2026, here at the PlexusAV booth and joined by Stephen Cogels. How are you doing on day one?
I'm doing well. And
Yeah.
It's very hot outside, but it's nicely cooled inside of the halls, right? So that's a good thing.
Thank God.
Welcome to the desert.
Right, and what a show for you guys because as you know, obviously you know, IPMX is an official standard, which is really, really huge. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is we've been talking about IPMX, like you and me, for the past few years now. So how has the conversation changed from, hey, what is that, to how do I deploy this?
No, that's exactly what happened. So that's the change that we are seeing, right? From IPMX being a promise of like, hey, this is an open standard, gives you flexibility and interoperability with other brands, to a standardized IPMX with like the standard fully published. And not to forget, like that interoperability event that happened just before ISE, where many manufacturers came together and actually did testing of their devices and got their official IPMX certificate. And that's definitely changing the discussion from, okay, this is something I want to look at for the future, to like, how can I deploy this today? How can I get my campus to adopt IPMX so that I have more flexibility towards the future and don't need to rip everything out every time I do a technology update?
Absolutely.
So it's absolutely changed the conversation.
So what needs to happen next? Now that it's an official standard, in your opinion, what needs to happen next in order for it to have like the widespread adoption that I think we all hope for?
Well, number one is, of course, we need, so there's a lot of like the infrastructure vendors that have already jumped on board with IPMX, right? So from the encode, decode, wall plate perspective, it's mostly covered. Now, of course, the next step is cameras, right? Native cameras with IPMX outputs. Those will be coming, right? We know we are having conversations with camera manufacturers as well, how we can help them come up with IPMX products. So that's gonna really change that perspective, and of course also on the screen side, the reception side of things. There's some solutions already that you can put a card into your screen, only on like high-end models, but we'll see that triple down as well. So that's the next steps. But nothing is stopping you today from deploying an IPMX AV over IP solution, because you're putting encoders, dedicated encoders and decoders in there as well. Like people are taking a camera feed through HDMI or SDI and encoding that. So that side of the market, you can already use IPMX perfectly fine. And we're going to be launching a good amount of case studies within the next 2 months that will show like, hey, this is IPMX deployed in solutions where other AV over IP solutions are being deployed today. So it's like a proof of how it can be used.
That's amazing. So I wanted to ask you this because I feel like I've been doing these interviews with you for like a few years now, and something I've never asked you is, why did you guys hop on to IPMX before the rest of the industry really wanted to do that in AV?
So Plexus is a division inside of Sencor, and Sencor has been around, US company, we're based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and we've been around for almost 75, I think exactly 75 years this year. And in the broadcast market, everything is open standards.
That's true.
Right? Think about somebody sending a signal over a fiber from a stadium, and that needs to go to your cable operator or your internet provider, and you need to have the same box in every household. That's never going to work, right? So open standards are part of our DNA. We've been living and breathing that for like 20 plus years. So when we started looking at the Pro AV space and how to get back into that Pro AV space, an open standards just makes the most sense. And ultimately, if you look at other technology developments, if you look at like IP telephony or other situations where it was proprietary first and it went through an open standard, this is following the same, it's the same line, it's the same effect that we're seeing. So for us, it was nothing more than logical to go the IPMX route.
Absolutely. So talking a little bit about products, you guys had a few announcements, but let's talk a little bit about the P-AVN-6-S. Talk a little bit about that product, what it does, and why, like what applications are looking for uncompressed workflows like that right now?
So first of all, the AVN6 is like completing the puzzle, as with the messaging at our booth is we're completing the puzzle with an uncompressed solution. So it does 2110, it does IPMX uncompressed, but it also does JPEG access 1 gig output. So in that sense, you can combine that with like a typical AV over IP deployment on a campus while you're doing a part of the broadcaster production side on SMPTE 2110. And for us, the AVN6 is really completing that portfolio. It also supports things like SMPTE 2022-7, forget about that. Essentially what it means is it does hitless switching. So if you have two fiber connections, two fiber rings, you connect a primary and a backup, and if one fails, it switches over without anything. You don't see any effect of that. And also it allows us to connect to those 12G SDI cameras and 12G SDI connections. The typical application for P-AVN-6 will be like big LED walls, production environments, live events, right, where there's no latency allowed, there's no picture degradation allowed at all. It needs to be native, because that's what you're doing on uncompressed. You're taking the native HDMI or SDI signal and sending it through a big fiber link to the other side.
Very cool. You said that was the final piece to the puzzle. What are the other pieces?
Well, there's one piece that we're working on, which is the multi-view side of things, right? Because we've always had video walls that we supported, but we're also doing a technology demo here at the show of our multi-viewer. It's still very early stages, so not available, but the feedback is very good. It's essentially a solution that is able to canvas, so you can do any resolution that you can make with a GPU-accelerated COTS hardware. And that will actually be the real final piece of the puzzle. But if you look at the compression side, on the encoders, decoders, and the transceivers, we now have a full portfolio. Which the strong point about that is you don't need to decide on like, oh, I want to go H.264, H.265, or I need 1 gig, and you don't need to go to another vendor. You can get that all from us now, and always also have that backwards compatibility, because they all use the same control protocol, all use the same standards.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So, last thing I want to say is just congratulations. You know, y'all have really, really done great things over the past couple of years, and I've been excited to follow you guys and like get to interview you every year and see how much you've grown. So, congrats. Yeah,
I appreciate that, and that's also like, and they don't hear it that often, but we have a great engineering team that makes all these ideas a reality, right? So. Huge shout out to them as well, because they're behind the scenes, and we always try to send them a lot of pictures of trade shows and excited projects. But we're fortunate to have a great engineering team that's able to build these kind of things, because it's not an easy feat to do this.
No, it's really not. It is literally like, when it was first explained to me, it seemed like, you know, square peg or round hole. Like I was like, but how does it work? So that is a really great point. Like y'all's engineers are really, really doing amazing work.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Congratulations. Where can people find more about PlexusAV?
Well, the best way is our website, www.PlexusAV.com, and then you can find your sales representative. We have people spread over the US in the region. So that's the best way to find the information. Awesome.
Well, Steven, always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Don't forget to go to ravepubs.com/InfoComm for all your InfoComm 2026 news. Again, I'm Steph Beckett, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.